coloring time! Hey there creators, Niamh here, and today I'm doing another collaboration, this time with Rinske colors. I'm not sure if I said her name correct. I'm not sure if it's like Rinske or Rinske. Sorry about that. But yeah, so she's a colorist and I'm a colorist. Sometimes I do coloring videos on my channel, and I'll leave a card pop up to my coloring book playlist if you're interested. So we did since we're both colorists, we decided a good collaboration theme for us would be to draw something for the other person to color, of course. So that's what we did. And we went with a fantasy theme. We said we wanted something fantasy and something with fairies. So yeah, so this was a lot of fun. And at the end of the video, I will leave a link to her channel. So make sure you go check out the coloring that she did of my drawing, and yeah. Yeah, so she's really awesome. She does a lot of really great colorings, and go check her out. All right, but let's get started on my piece and then me coloring her piece. All right, let's get started.
Well, hey everyone. This episode or video is about a collab with Rinske, I think her name is, and we are both colorers. Sometimes I do coloring on my YouTube, and she does coloring on hers. So when we decided to do a collab, we decided that we would each draw something for the other one to color. And so we came up with the idea of doing a fantasy sort of theme, and maybe something with fairies. So that was kind of what we had decided. So I was a little nervous about this because while I'd like to start doing doing my own coloring book sometime, or coloring pages for other people to color, I'm not well versed on it. So, this was definitely a bit of an experiment for me. And it was a lot of fun to do. And I hope I did the challenge justice. And I hope she enjoys this. Yeah. So the drawing itself, I was kind of, when I was thinking about something fantasy, I don't know why, but I couldn't get the image of like a potion bottle out of my mind. So obviously I had to do a fairy, so I thought of like a fairy coming upon a potion or a vial or something like that in an enchanted forest. So yeah, that's what I ended up doing here. So I was also nervous doing the fairy itself because people drawing is just not my forte. And I like to draw a lot of like other things like animals and objects and things like that. Oh, and I was having a tough time with this flower up here. I redrew it several times, and I was just like, I'm not enjoying this here. I'm not doing it right. But then at the end, it turned out great. So, yeah. And I put a little butterfly at the top. Yeah. So I did end up going into Photoshop and cleaning up some of the lines a little bit after scanning this, and so I hope Rinske enjoys coloring it. All right, I'm gonna have a screenshot here in a second. So here we are with Rinske's drawing, and wow, she did a really great job. Like, she went like full forest with hers. Yeah, so like when we discussed like what we were doing, we kind of just had a general theme, fantasy theme, and something to do with fairies. So after that, whatever we wanted to do, how big it was going to be, or the style, whatever, it was up to us. And I did mine in my sketchbook. And I wasn't sure how big of a piece she was going to do, but if she happened to do a small piece, like mine was, then I was going to just put it on the other half of that page on my sketchbook, and that way, her drawing plus my drawing could be all one image, something like that, which I thought was kind of a cool idea. But she ended up making a much larger piece, which is great too, and she did such a good job with it. Instead of spending the time to trace it onto a page, though, honestly, it seemed like it was going to be a lot easier just to straight up print her design onto some marker paper. Is the marker paper that was that I won from the giveaway from Scribblefix when she had her 500 subscribers. So thanks, Scribblefix. But yeah, it was a 8.5 by 11 page. So I just, I was like, why don't I just print it straight on here? And it was also totally an experiment too, because I wasn't sure what sort of medium I wanted to use to color, because a lot of times it's colored pencils, for coloring adult coloring books. But I was like, what am I going to use to color this? What am I going to use? And I went back and forth trying to decide, am I going to use colored pencils? Am I going to use this? And I finally decided, you know what? I want to do markers. And that marker paper was the perfect size to just put straight into the printer. And I made her image lighter so that the lines wouldn't be so dark when I colored over them. Because I kind of like the look of some very light lines when I do coloring. Sometimes coloring pages have darker lines, and that's fine. But I kind of like the lighter lines. So this is actually the first time I've used this paper. And because normally when I do marker work, I do it on Bristol board, and it's not quite as smooth as this marker paper. It's kind of, I don't want to say shiny, but it's a very, very smooth surface. And also I want to say here, I wasn't sure what the lines were behind this tree sort of thing that she had on there. It kind of made me think of mountains. So I ended up, I don't know if she intended it to be mountains. Probably not. But I kind of interpreted them as mountains. So then I went back to kind of tie in the idea that that's mountains. And I drew like very rudimentary mountains with the same lines in the background. But yeah, I liked the way that looked, and the fantasy colors of the pinks and the blues and teals and bright greens. Yeah. So yeah, the marker paper was super smooth to work with, and it was definitely an experiment and an experience, because I've never used actual marker paper before. I'm actually fairly new to the whole marker world. Yeah, I sort of just make stuff up as I go along, but just kind of what I do with most things. When I test things out, I really do just make stuff up as I go along. So up in the sky here, I added in some details, like lines in the sky. I was a bit bored with how it was looking, and I was also not liking the trees so much here, and pretty soon I'm gonna bust out the colored pencils just to add on top. And yeah, I decided to use the Spectrum Noir colored pencils, which are kind of a student grade colored pencils. They're wax and oil based, I think. Yeah, they were the first colored pencils non-kid colored pencils that I got, and I do like them, but since switching to polychromos for most of my major artworks, I've kind of stopped using, and here they are, I've kind of stopped using the Spectrum Noir. oh God, I was apparently out of screen here. What happened was I think I bumped the camera and I didn't realize that I was totally, like, now my artwork was totally off screen. It'll come back in screen soon, but unfortunately you're going to miss a lot of the coloring pencil part. But yeah, so with blending, I thought a good idea to try was to use the colorless blender that I use for markers and see if, oh, see, I moved the camera there, see if that would help blend some of the colored pencils, and surprisingly it did a pretty good job. So not a super great job. It wasn't fantastic, but it blended it pretty well, as much as I needed. So I don't know if it's a good technique or not, because maybe it does ruin the marker. I don't know. So maybe I shouldn't suggest it. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to me. But yeah, I did like the trees much better now. I was trying to have them a grayish color, but it was blending in too much with the grays that I was having on the mountains. So, and here I am adding in some a little bit of watered down acrylic paint, just, you know, to bring some clouds up to the forefront and to put a halo around the fairy, and of course to, you know, add in some white details and splatters. You know me, I like to do that kind of stuff. And these little circle things are just kind of magical orb sort of things. And she was like holding one of them. The Rinske had the fairy like holding, like reaching for something, but didn't show what she was reaching for. So I just added those orbs in as something the fairy was reaching for. So yeah, I still want to do the thing where I put part of her image on the other side of my sketchbook, and I'll color that some other time. And I thought what would be kind of cool is if I put her Rinske's little fairy house on the other side of my sketchbook, and with some of those mountains. And yeah, I think that would look really cool. So we're coming near the end here, and I'm just adding in I'm putting back in some of the dark lines, yeah, tracing some of the things there. I do sign my name at the bottom, and her name was actually already signed on there. It's right underneath the fairy. So I add in my name, like my little signature that I'm the one who colored it, and then I went over and kind of traced her. Here I am writing my name, and I traced her signature a little bit just to make it pop a little bit, because it kind of got hidden in the artwork. All right, so that was super fun. Thanks so much for doing this with me, Rinske. I hope you like how it turned out.
Wow, so this turned out really good, really fun and bright and colorful and very fantasy-like. It was very fun to do. It was also fun to use the marker paper for the first time. And yeah, I hope she likes it. And I can't wait to see her coloring of my piece and how that turned out. I'm sure it was really great. Don't forget to click subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and go check out Rinske Colors. I will leave a link to her channel right after this. Later, creators. Bye.